The first thing you need to understand is that sound travels strangely in the earth. Down in the dark, it doesn't echo, it seeps. It presses against your eardrums like something alive. I remember standing at the mouth of the Crimson Vale mine and hearing what I thought was the wind, but it wasn't the wind. It was a whisper, a high, thin keening that seemed to come from the rocks themselves. And then, clear as a bell, I heard a child laugh. The hairs on my arms stood up, because the Crimson Vale mine had been sealed for 40 years. No one had been inside for decades, and yet I could hear them, dozens of them, singing. I was there to document the town's history for a small documentary, a simple, boring job. But as I stood there with that sound crawling up my spine, I realized the locals hadn't been telling me ghost stories. They had been giving me a warning. I should have left then. I really should have. Instead, I went to Mabel's Diner, the only place in town that stays open past sundown. I sat in a booth, and the moment my coffee arrived, the old-timers went quiet. You know that silence? The one that's louder than any conversation? It was thick enough to choke on. Old man Kessler finally hobbled over. He leaned in close, and I could smell the mothballs on his coat. "You were up at the mine," he said. It wasn't a question. "You hear them?" I nodded, trying to play it cool. Sounded like kids playing. He stared at me for a long moment. His eyes were a pale, milky blue, like stones in a river. "That ain't playing, son. That's singing. They sing to remember." "Remember what?" I asked. He looked around the diner as if checking for eavesdroppers. The fluorescence above us flickered, casting a sickly green pallor over everything. "Remember who they are," he whispered. "The mine, it eats them, but it keeps them. Traps their souls in the stone. And at night, when the pressure drops, they seep out. They sing to remind themselves of the sun." I laughed. A nervous, stupid reaction. "That's just a legend to keep kids away from the shaft." Kessler didn't laugh. He just stood up. "My brother is in there," he said, his voice cracking. "I heard him sing for 60 years. Last night he went quiet. That means he finally forgot. He's just rock now. You go in there, you best bring a strong light, because if your light goes out, they'll remember you, and they'll want you to stay." He shuffled away, leaving me with a cold cup of coffee and a heart hammering against my ribs. I'm a journalist. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in evidence. So the next morning, armed with high-powered LED lamps and a camera, I went back. I found a gap in the concrete seal, a narrow crawl space that hadn't been there in the photos from 1985. It looked fresh, like something had pushed through from the inside. I squeezed through. The air inside was cold. Not damp cold, but a dry, sterile cold, like a meat locker. My light cut a white path through the absolute black, illuminating the rusted rails of an old cart track. I followed them deeper. That's when I saw the first one, a small handprint pressed into the wall, perfectly preserved in the cold dust, the size of a 5-year-old. I touched it. The dust was soft, fresh, not 40 years old, hours old. I heard the giggle again. Close this time. I spun around. My light swept across a tunnel opening to my left. For a split second, I saw a figure. A small child, naked and pale, ducking back into the shadows. My brain screamed, animal, a lost kid, but my gut knew the truth. The way it moved was wrong. Too fast, too fluid, like smoke being sucked back into a chimney. I should have run, but I'm an idiot. I followed it. The tunnel sloped down sharply. The air grew heavier, pressing on my chest. The walls here were different. They weren't just rock. They were veined, swirled with colors that didn't belong in a coal mine. Pinks and fleshy tones. And embedded in the stone, I saw shapes, the outlines of bodies, dozens of them, trapped in the rock like insects in amber. They weren't skeletons. They were whole, preserved. A woman cradling a child. A group of men holding hands. Their eyes were closed. They looked peaceful, like they were just sleeping. My light flickered. The battery was full, but the beam dimmed. The temperature plummeted. My breath plumed in the air. And then the singing started again. But this time it wasn't faint. It was a chorus, echoing from every direction. It was a lullaby, a horribly sweet, simple tune. And the figures in the walls began to move, not their bodies, their eyelids. They were fluttering as if dreaming. I stumbled backward, my heart trying to claw its way out of my throat. My light flickered again, dying. I was plunged into darkness so complete it felt solid. I fumbled for my backup light. As my hands scrambled, I felt something touch my ankle. A small, cold hand. It patted me gently, curiously. A tiny voice right by my ear whispered, "New friend, will you remember us?" I screamed. I kicked out and my boot connected with something solid. The grip broke. I rolled, hit my headlamp, and the light blazed on. I was alone, but I wasn't. I could see them now, standing in the tunnel ahead of me. Dozens of children, their skin gray as slate, their eyes black and empty. They weren't monsters. They looked terrified, lost. They stared at me with a desperate, hungry loneliness. Behind them I saw the truth, a vast, cathedral-like cavern, and in the center, a pulsating mass of coal and flesh. A heart, the mine's heart. It breathed, and with each pulse, the walls constricted, squeezing the rock, drawing the souls deeper. It wasn't a mine. It was a living organism, a predator that had been feeding on the town's children for a century. The townspeople knew. They didn't talk about it because they were afraid it would get angry. They just sacrificed them, let them wander in, let the mountain eat. I ran. I don't know how I found the exit. I just ran until I saw sunlight. I burst out of that hole, gasping and crying. I'm telling you this from a hotel room 50 miles away. I haven't slept. I can still hear the lullaby. It's faint, but it's there, underneath the hum of the air conditioner. I'm leaving. I'm never coming back. But as I was packing, I checked my camera. I wanted to see if the footage was real. I scrolled through the images. The last photo I took was of the cavern, of the heart. heart. In the reflection of the polished black stone, I saw myself standing there. But I wasn't alone. Something was standing behind me. A tall, gaunt shadow, and it had its hand on my shoulder. I don't remember feeling it, but in the photo I'm smiling. Has something ever followed you home and you didn't even know it?